Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. We are making something today that is so interesting, I have no idea what to call it. And this is it, or this way, not really sure. So these are a zippered holder for your clothes. So if you are wearing a jacket or a cardigan or a jumper or something and you are going out, you would attach this to the side of your handbag like this one I've got here. I bought this at the local thrift store for $2 this morning. I'm going to pull it apart and make a bag out of it, you know, pattern. Anyway, this is it here. So it's a little zippered holder. And I've got a cardigan hanging from there. So if you're going out, you can just hang it there and it's not going to fall off the back of a chair. It's not going to fall from the side of your handbag. It's neatly, or a little bit neatly, secured inside this zippered holder thingamajig. So all that is one continuous zip. Close it up and it's just a decorative feature on the side of your bag, but if you open it up you can hang your clothes from it. So I'm going to show you how to make this two ways, well, with two different types of zips, this one being the number 5 continuous zip and this one being the number 3 regular dress zip. So if you don't often use these or don't know how to use these ones, you don't have to. I'll show you how to make exactly the same thing using a regular zip. Let's get straight to it. All right, for the two different types that we're making, these are the things that we're going to need. I've got a number 5 continuous zip here. So we're going to be making 2 of these little holders out of one zipper. And for that, we need to have 4 strips of fabric, 2 swivel clips, and we also need 2 sliders, and we need 2 strips of fabric, which will be for the tab at the top for the D-rings. So that's what we need for this one here with the number 5 continuous zip. For the regular dress zip, I've got 1 zipper, and then I also have 2 strips of fabric as long as the zip. I have 1 piece of fabric for the tab at the top, and I have a piece of fabric for the tab at the bottom, and I have a swivel clip. So I'm going to set this one aside for the moment and we'll make a start on the other. So now what we're going to do is take our zipper tape and we'll separate this. So we're only going to be using one side to make each one of these holders. So grab your fabric, the long strips, and you fold the fabric in half, all the way across, and then you'll fold it in half again with the raw edges into the center, and then you'll fold that in half again. So you'll do that all the way down. You'll also want to go and press this as you go. All right, so I may have got a little bit excited. I've cut and folded 2 extra pieces. We don't need those. We only need 1 strip for each side of our zipper tape. So the one that we're separating, we'll only need 1 piece of fabric for each of them. And for this one here, where we've got the regular dress zip, we need to have 2 strips of fabric. So I've already gone and folded and ironed these ones, and they're ready to put onto the zip when I'm ready. So what we're going to do here, I'll set one of these aside. With this piece folded in half, you'll insert the zipper tape evenly in between the layers there. So you've got the fold of the fabric with the raw edges to the inside, and you'll just tuck that in nicely It's just like a binding. And it wouldn't hurt if you made this about 1/8 of an inch smaller. You don't want the slider to get caught in the fabric. But this will be fine. Clip these edges together, tucking in that fabric. So the distance of this piece of fabric is really going to be determined by the presser foot that you use. If you can't get very close to the zipper teeth, then you might want to make this fabric a little bit smaller. And I would just cut it maybe 1/4 of an inch narrower down the whole strip, which will make this less than 1/8 of an inch narrower as well. So we can pop that on, take that to the machine and sew all the way down the open edge of this fabric here. So you want to get as close to that edge, and that will enclose both layers of fabric. I'll set that one aside. For this little one, I've got my 2 pieces of fabric ready to go, and we want the zip to open from top to bottom like that. I've got my little tiny scrap of fabric here. I folded one edge over by 1/4 of an inch and the other edge over by 1/4 of an inch, and then I folded that in half so that that's perfectly even on both sides, because what we're going to do with this one is stitch close to the edge along this side. Before we do that though, we need to cut off this end of the zipper tape and open that out and insert the end of the zip in between the layers of fabric like that, so that can be stitched in place, and our zip has a stopper. So once that's been done here, we can take this fabric, we'll trim the edges off the side, we can then take this fabric and put this directly over the top, just like we've done on this one, but you will put these binding strips on both sides of the zip. So we'll do this part at the machine, this one we're going to take with us, and whilst I'm at it, I'll do this second one as well. And we'll take everything to the machine and sew all that up. Okay, I've got my zipper foot on, which is a very, very narrow foot. And what I'm going to do now is place the binding strip under the machine, or under my foot, with my zipper teeth facing my left. And I've got the edge of my presser foot right on the very edge of the fabric. In fact, I'll go a little bit closer. I'll go right to the edge of the zipper teeth, and that way I'll get as close to the edge of the fabric as I can. This is a finger guard so that I don't stitch over my fingers. Let's get started. So that's that one finished. For the regular dress zip, I've got this little tab sitting on the end of my zipper tape, pushed all the way up. And we'll stitch across that. And I'll go back and reinforce that. So that's the end of the zipper tape closed off. And I'm going to trim this back so that it sits in line with the edge of the zipper tape. And we're going to attach this piece of fabric. Now before we do that, on one edge only, we want to open that out and just fold the edge under by about 1/4 inch. Finger pressing is all it needs. And then fold that under again. So we have a nice neat folded edge at the bottom, and we'll line that up on the edge of this tape here. And tuck the rest of the zipper tape in between those layers of fabric. And when you're ready, you can stitch that in place. And so all the way to the top, and move that slider out of the way if you need to. So that's one side of the binding done on the regular zip. So for the other side, we're going to do the same. Fold those edges over, and then we'll attach this to the other side of the zipper tape. So I've positioned my foot onto the other side rather than having to flip it upside down. And I've actually started in probably about 1/4 inch because it gets a little bit difficult to sew at the top end. So I'll actually do a few stitches and then back stitch and then go forward. And then continue on to the end. And whilst I'm at it, I might as well do the other big one. Okay, we don't have much left to go. So let's set these aside for the moment. We only need one of these strips to finish our little clothing holder. So bring the edges together like this so that it's not twisted. We're going to grab one of the sliders, pop that on one side and on the other. And close that up. Cute, isn't it? You'll notice that this has twisted a little bit, and from memory, somebody did tell me a while back that zippers, or some zippers, have a particular direction that they need to go. So when you're putting the slider on, they need to go this way or this way. And it's the direction that these teeth are facing that determine whether the slider goes on one way or the other. It doesn't happen, or this twisting doesn't happen with all zipper tape, but I have found that this happens with your regular dress zips and some of these number 5s. My black zips don't have this problem at all, but it'll come good in time. So we've got our piece of fabric here, the longest length across here. We'll fold one edge over by 1/4 inch and place that face down. Grab your zipper tape, and we're going to place that down onto the fabric, and we want the wrong side of the tape faced up. Fold this fabric around so that you've got this folded edge sitting on the zipper tape. fold this edge of the fabric over until it covers that little folded area. Then we can clip that together and we'll sew right across the top edge there. And we're going to do the same for this little one here. So I've got another piece of fabric with one side folded up by 1/4 inch. Place that with the right side facing up. I'm going to trim off the end of the zip, but first I want to open the slider and cut across. And at this point you might want to put some adhesive tape near the end just to hold that in place. It doesn't matter if you stitch over it, it'll peel off shortly anyway. So pop that on like that. I've got the fold facing the table. I've got the wrong side of my zip faced up. And once again I'll line up the edge of the zip here. Fold this piece of fabric over with that little fold there. And then I'll fold this piece of fabric over so that it overlaps this fabric on this side. And we'll sew across there. Make sure your slider's out of the way. I'll do the same for this last one as well. I'm just lining up the edge of the zipper teeth with the edge on this side. Interesting that that one doesn't twist like the other one. Okay, I'll trim that one across. So with all three of these done, we're going to stitch across the top edge of all of those, and then we'll be ready to finish these up. So that's all we needed to do. All right, the next thing we need to do is grab this bit of fabric and just push it out to the end. You can remove that adhesive tape if you have it. And what's happened here is we've got the folded edge to the outside. Open this out all the way and then fold that raw edge in by about 1/4 inch or so. Just finger press. And then we can fold all those edges back in again. Until that's sitting nice and even and tidy. Grab one of your swivel clips and pop that fabric through the clip. Let's move the slider out of the way so we don't accidentally sew over it. And then fold this edge here down to the fold at the top of your zip. And we're going to sew across there, up along here, across the edge of your clip and down again. You just want to secure this so that it isn't flopping about too much. So we'll do that one. And for this one, we'll do the same. Fold in that raw edge. Really doesn't matter how much you fold it in. And you can trim off the corner on the diagonal here if you want to. I couldn't be bothered. And you can put your swivel clip on this as well. Now, my clip for this one isn't wide enough, so you will need one to be at least as wide as your zipper tape. This one's about 1/4 inch too narrow, but that's fine, I can live with this. And bring that edge down to the edge of the fabric and line that up. And we'll sew across here, up, across and down again. And what I'm going to do is I think I might taper the edge in a little bit, just so that it fits the swivel clip. So if I taper that in, when I sew it, it'll stay in place. So I'll sew across there, along that taper, down and down along this taper as well. Then that'll look like it was meant to be. And I'll do the same for this one. So once you've sewn this up, you are completely finished. And there we have it, they're all done. They're super cute, aren't they? So this one here that's a bit twisted, all I've done is actually just given this a bit of a twist in the opposite direction. And I think if I press it, that will help it sit nice and flat as well. So that one will come good after a little while. This is the one using your regular dress zip. You'll notice that the zips in both of these are going in 2 different directions. So when you've got this one clipped to your handbag, you'll open it up this way and insert your jacket or your jumper or cardigan or whatever in like that. You can flip it around the other way. It really doesn't make much difference. So instead of having the swivel clip up this end, you could have it at this end, and then your zip will open that way. With these ones here, the continuous zips, you can really only go one way. You don't want to put your tab down this end here. That defeats the purpose of having it look like this. So you just pop your garment inside there. You can close the zip up a little bit so that it holds it in place. Too easy. So what do you think? It came up really well. They're so simple to make. And I think they probably take about 10 minutes or so. The most tedious part is folding the bindings for these things. The whole folding business took longer than it did to actually stitch everything down and finish it up. So that was probably the worst part of the whole thing. But otherwise they're really simple to make. And as I said, you can do them with a regular zip or with your continuous number 5. I've been having a look at this bag I showed you earlier. I think it's actually handmade. It doesn't have any labels in it. So I'm hesitant to pull it apart. I might just make a pattern from it. So there you go. Put your cardigan or jumper over the top. And then you can easily take this around with you without the fear of losing your jacket or your cardigan hanging over your bag. So it's neatly tucked away on the side of the bag. It does tilt the bag a little bit, but I think it would be a nice way to carry it when you're perhaps sitting in a restaurant and you don't want to lose your jacket or your cardigan. Anyway, what do you think? It's an easy project, something a little bit different for a change. I had thought that I might make these for the shop, but I don't want to have to worry about twisted zips, and I would want to put at least $10 on them because of the amount of time it does take me. So I don't know that I would get $10 for that. I think that this would probably only be a $5 item. So for that reason, I won't make them for the shop. But they were fun to do anyway. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.